Hello, everyone. It's Chrissy and Lex, and this episode we have Hope Roth with us. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Clues.
So as you know, WAVIT is a Women in AV and IT, and this is our third episode of our podcast. We're still learning the ropes, so bear with us as we continue to get more comfortable having conversation virtually and, just kind of plugging along. So I really just want to essentially give the mic to Hope, but I will lead with some questions. Hope and I have known each other for, I think, almost 6 years now. At least that's what I kind of remember. And I'm happy to, I think, Lex, you've known her a couple years now too?
Technically, yes. I don't know if we have like a couple of years of like solid conversation. You know, we've like met each other and then we've briefly seen each other on socials and text messages and stuff. So I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot on this episode too.
I know enough about you to be a big fan. How's that?
Exactly. That's all I need to say. I knew enough to know that this would be a great guest.
That was me last episode with Alicia Henley. I'm like, we've seen each other across the pond, but we've never actually talked.
Oh man, she's the best. Now I want to start a podcast just so I can interview Alicia.
Honestly,
well, you can listen in to our episode.
Just give us
all credit. Right. So first off, Hope, for those that don't know who you are, if you wouldn't mind giving us your casual, non-professional introduction of yourself. Who is the Hope Roth?
The Hope Roth. Oh man, I gotta. What is that? Adjective, pronoun? I don't know.
All of the above.
Ad-lib. There we go.
Mad lib. I'm Hope. I've been in the AV industry for like 15 plus years, which, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I'm so used to saying the professional stuff. I work at Q-SYS. Very happy there. Volunteer instructor for AVIT. I'm the co-chair of the WAVIT outreach committee. Proud Girl Scout leader. Proud mom. Proud crafter. You can see the mess behind me.
Yeah, you have quite the crafting setup. Those of you who are just listening on audio, you're missing out. Looks super cool.
Thank you.
It's inspiring me because I recently just got back into painting, and I went into Blick for the first time in eons, and about lost my mind. It was hard. It was hard not to just buy the entire aisle.
Blick? I've literally never heard of that.
It's like an art store.
Oh, is it regional? I feel like I've been to so many art stores.
It's cool. A chain, but it's more specific to like, I don't want to say professional artists because I don't know the artist world that much to be able to say that, but it's definitely a step up from like Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, it's like a more high end art supply store.
Okay, so Joann's and Michael's just chump stuff. That's just beginner. That's for us beginners.
I have a Joann's and a Michael's behind me.
Yeah, you are the Joann's and Michael's. Cool.
So Hope, in our years of knowing each other, I don't think I actually have ever asked you your journey to where you are now at Q-SYS. I've only ever just had you locked in my head as the programming guru, and I've called you in several times freaking out about something, and then you would talk me off the ledge. So could you give us a little tour through the rise of Hope Roth from when you started in the AV industry till now?
Sure. A little bit like the rise of Skywalker. No. So my journey is a little different from most folks in that I came in through computer science. So my undergraduate degree is a BS in computer science. And then I had the misfortune of graduating in 2004, which was bit of a bubble bursting in sort of the .com world. So no one told me that if you wanted a real grown-up job, you had to do an internship. And then when they told me after I graduated and it was too late, I was like, well, I worked for my dad every summer. I had to make money. And they were like, people pay for internships. Like you can go and like learn how to do your real job and then get paid for it. I had no idea. I was folding t-shirts in his sweatshop, and it would have been much nicer to type in a air-conditioned office, let me tell you. So pro tip for everyone out there, tell college students to do internships.
Paid internships. They're out there.
Do not give your labor out for free. And if you are in the STEM field, they should for sure be paying you because they are getting stuff out of you just as much as you are getting out of them. And then work hard because that's how you get a job offer afterwards, is to be the intern that like took initiative and like got stuff done. So instead I was folding t-shirts, and then I graduated and could not find a job.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I ended up at a Boys and Girls Club for a while as the like technology director. They made everyone a director to make them feel better about how poorly we were paid. And then realized I was making poverty wages and that was not going to work. So I ended up in IT. I was at Tufts University for like 6 years in the IT department. And I'd always been the person that was like, let me figure out how to make your AV stuff work. My dad always had projectors at home before those were really like a personal thing. And I was always the one that hooked it up and made it all work. So I sort of gravitated towards classroom support and eventually started doing that full time at Tufts. And then one day, one of our integrators came to me and said, wait, you went to school for computer science. You could be programming these rooms. And that's sort of where things went from there. So got a job at an integrator, learned how to do AV programming, and here I am now.
So
Was the AV go ahead, Lex.
I just think it's so cool that it literally one person can make such a difference in your career, you know?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And he's actually been there a few times along the way because he was the one that said you should learn how to do this. So I learned how to do it on the job. And then he poached me. So he got me my first job at an integrator. So now I can't say his name because I don't want to get him in trouble. And then he actually came to me later on in my career and was like, I found out how much you're making and it's not cool. They should be paying you a lot more than you're making right now. So yeah, I know I made that face, Lex. And found a new job with like I don't know. Every time I tell the story, the percentage goes up, but I'm pretty sure it was like a 30% raise.
That's crazy.
Because I got certified and they didn't give me a raise. And it was like, yeah.
So he's helped you a couple of times. Man, now that is what you talk about. When you're mentioning, you know, a cheerleader behind the scenes. That's super neat.
Well, so there's a mentor, there's a cheerleader, and there's a I just had it in my head, a champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a mentor is the person who tells you how to fix your resume. The cheerleader is the person who tells you make your resume sound better because you're awesome and this you need to just let yourself shine. And then a champion is someone who takes your resume, walks down the hall and hands it to the hiring manager.
I love that. Why is that the first time I've ever heard that? That's amazing. That's super good.
But yeah, we all need
a great distinction.
I mean, we all need to be all of those things, right?
Yeah.
We need those things, and then we also, if we have it in us to be those things, you know, that has also been a similar support for my career. We were talking on our first episode about advocates who walk with us, and there's been instances in my career where I wouldn't have even thought to go into a certain niche if it wasn't for a counterpart saying, hey, you do this really well. Like, would you consider doing X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, oh, hey, no, but let's do it. I mean, you want to tell a girl who was going to go into TV that she would be commissioning LED walls in sports stadiums, she would have been like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it comes down to, you know, as women, we've sort of been socialized to dim our lights a little bit. And so, you know, there's that trope about a guy, if he has like 30% of the stuff on a job posting, will just throw his name in there just in case. And a woman's like, well, I only have like 99.97%. And so maybe I shouldn't bother. And so I think we all need someone. We all need a cheerleader. I mean, you know, the champion is the person who has that real solid impact because they took your stuff and they gave it directly to the person who had a decision-making power. But cheerleaders are important too, because you need someone to say, you're awesome, you should go for it. So, and I'm in my job now because of that.
Right.
You know, I mentioned to a friend of mine that I was thinking about applying to this job. Actually, not the one I have now, but a job at Q-SYS. And she was like, yes, you should. I heard it's a great place to work. And then I was like, well, you know, I thought I might let Corey Schaefer know I'm applying, but, you know, she's pretty busy. I don't want to bother her. And she's like, are you crazy? Let her know. She wants to know. And then I reached out to Corey, who of course was super excited and immediately started sending me job postings and, you know, oh, you could apply for this, you could apply for this. And, you know, once you have that Corey Schaefer stamp of approval, I'm sure everybody was looking at me like, oh, okay, she must be the real deal. So, well, I had a cheerleader who brought me to a champion. It was awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
it changed my life.
You also have to give yourself credit there too. You know, you get that her stamp of approval, but I mean, you came in and you showed them that you were very much all that she said you were.
Yep. And I also, I feel like I should have been wearing my Corey Schaefer shirt that we had a couple info comms ago. I didn't think about that. But I thought while you were talking, I was thinking too, sometimes those roles change. Sometimes the people in those roles in your life change over time. And, you know, I still talk to some of the people who cheer-led or mentored me in the beginning of my career as friends, but they maybe don't hold that role so much anymore. Mm-hmm. And then Lex and I were talking before you came on about the mentorship program within WAVIT, how we're excited for that. And where we might fit in that, you know, do I want to be a mentee or a mentor? And, you know,
do both.
Yeah.
You've got both. You'd be so great. You both would be fantastic mentors. Anyone who's been in the industry more than like 2 years could be a mentor at this point, right? Mm-hmm. Because you learn so much just by doing it. And you know, I was talking to a coworker and she's saying, well, I don't think I could be a mentor. I don't have that much to offer. And I was like, we've been coworkers for 2.5 years now. I have seen you grow. You know, you could mentor you of 2 years ago. You learned so much.
Hope said it really well, is that for people who are thinking, oh, I can't, or I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, stop a second and ask yourself, like, what is it that's stopping you from doing that? Like, what do you think a mentor is that you think you're not going to achieve that? And for me, Althea put a challenge to me in our first episode as I was fangirling over someone in my company. And she was like, you need to just go up and shake her hand and get over whatever this is. And I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to go up and shake her hand, and I was losing my mind. And I was texting Lex the whole time because I was like, I just did it. I just shook her hand. We had a whole conversation. And then the cool part was she actually knew who I was. She actually knew my name, and we have a one-on-one scheduled in a couple weeks, and I'm still losing my mind over it. And I'm going to hope to not be so fangirl on the phone with her. But anyways, going back to my point is, what is it that I think I can't do as a mentor that's keeping me from signing up to that? And then conversely, a mentee, right? And the first thing that comes to my mind as a mentee is, do I have the time to be mentored? Yeah. Do I have the time to take on homework or to sit down and have a conversation that's going to be shining a light into my weakest points? You know, that's a level of vulnerability with someone in the industry that I have to get to, you know?
I mean, I think the mentor thing comes down a little bit to the imposter syndrome, right? Or the, I don't meet 100% of the job requirements. So I'm not going to apply, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's the reason it's so hard to see women in, you know, promotional videos or like all the interviews at Infocom. You know, it's so many men, and part of it is just there's so many of them, but part of it is also just women are scared to put themselves out there. So, there has not been a single person who has said to me, oh, I don't know if I can be a mentor, where I've been like, yeah, like that's a good idea. Yeah, like maybe keep that thought, like we all have something to give. And I'll put my little plug in. Jill Levine and I are the co-chairs of the outreach committee, and she's awesome. You guys should have her on. I love her. But we will be the mentors for this.
Cool.
We're hoping to have some, more, enough mentors that it can't just be the two of us, but to start with, it's going to be us. And so we're going to help you with that process. Right. And we're going to have a process for like, I don't know how to answer this question, like we don't all know the answers. So if your mentee comes to you and says, something that really bothers you and you don't know where to go from there, you can reach out to myself or Jill and we can help you with that. We're going to try and connect the mentors together as well in a way that, people can sort of have a, where you're not feeling like you're the only
community.
You need a community. So you don't feel like you're the be all end all. And yeah, Chrissy and Lex, you're both awesome and you both know what you're doing, and you both have been around for long enough that you could totally help somebody out. And I also say that from a slightly biased position, because we need more mentors than mentees so that we have a good pool to choose from. So please sign up so that we can find a match for everybody.
I wanted to address something Chrissy said earlier too, that oh my gosh, I literally lost my train of thought again. No, don't do it.
We're talking about the mentors.
I wanted to address something else that Chrissy said before. When you're applying, you'll see, you can mark how much time you're willing to commit or that you want to commit to this. So that's also something else to consider, is maybe it's not as much of a commitment that you think it is, or maybe it is more, but there are options there that they have for both mentees and mentors.
Yes, and we're going to be making those matches in a way that is respectful of everybody's time. So we're going to be looking at time zones. We're going to be looking at how often people want to meet. We're going to be looking at when they want to meet. And I mean, if I want to meet in the afternoon and someone who's further west wants to meet in the morning, like maybe that works for us just because of time zone. So we're going to sort of be looking at all of that, and we're also, it's sort of an opt-in process once you get matched, where we say this is the person that we've matched you with, and if you're like, oh no, she and I have beef, like she and I actually are, it doesn't look like it on paper, but we have a conflict of interest or whatever it is.
Sure.
Because nobody has beef. We're a wonderful community, but
we all have beef. There's always something.
Vegetarians, no beef.
I do have a question that just came up with the tofu. I can't have soy. So if I was going to consider applying either as a mentor or a mentee, let's focus on the mentee part for a second. What do I want to be asking myself to think, oh, I need a mentor, right? Let's explore that a little bit. I have one I know. I have a very specific category I know, which I'll share later, like what I know I would need mentoring on. But for other people who may not have thought about getting a mentor yet, or not really sure where to go with something, and that they've never considered being a mentee, how can we help them explore their minds to get a question that they could say, I need a mentor for this thing?
That is such a great question, because that's actually something we spent a lot of time thinking of when we put together the survey for this, is to ask people to have sort of a goal in mind. Yeah. And the thing is if you can't think of a goal, it is perfectly fine to say, well, my goal is just to talk to someone and figure some stuff out. I just graduated from college and I have my first job at an integrator, and I just, I'm overwhelmed and I just want a sounding board. Like, having a sounding board is also a goal. Like, if that's all you have, that's great. I wish I'd had a sounding board 15 years ago. It was always just me, right. I had some men in my life that were the champions and the cheerleaders and everything, but it's really only in the last 5 to 10, not even 10, but 5 or so years that I really have a strong community of female friends in AV where I can say, hey, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
So even if you don't come in with a goal, that's fine. But I do think it's helpful to have something that you're working towards or something that you're thinking about. And even maybe, your goal is to have a goal, like, especially if you're new in your career, a lot of us come in as sort of generalists. So I've talked to a lot of folks where it's like, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. I don't know what I like the most. I'm trying to figure it all out. I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So that could be your goal. So it really depends.
Yeah, one of my paths that I know that I want some adjustment with is finesse around my language. So I'm from Long Island. I've lived all over the East Coast. I don't have a designated accent, but I've spent a lot of time in the Midwest. And no dig to Midwesternism at all. I've just picked up words that I should not be saying on stage in a room full of colleagues, or I picked up words that I should not say on a call to customers. And thankfully, I have that filter. But what I don't have is the navigation for when that word comes up. Stop! Don't say that word. What's the word I need to say?
Yeah.
Right. And my grandma, bless her heart, at 90 years old, she's like, just read the dictionary. Well, thank you. I don't have time to read the dictionary. But if I just feel like there's someone out there who can help with that path of just, hey, Chrissy, you're in a new role. You're in a new season. You're moving up into management. Let's just sand off the rough edges. You're not an engineer anymore as far as dragging a tool bag around and saying a lot of un-HR approved comments, right? There needs to be some finesse, and that's
polish.
that I've gotten to now, right? And so that would be something that I would put on the table as I need mentoring in this.
Well, you're already a gem, so you just need a little more polish.
There you go.
Exactly. That was too good.
I put that as my new tagline.
Yeah.
Already a gem, just need a little more polish.
Yes. Well, and I might say, come in with think of a goal too. Like,
right.
I want to speak at this event. I want to feel confident enough to throw my name in as a speaker for this event. That sort of thing. I think it's helpful to have that. And I will also say, if you're feeling overwhelmed at the idea of putting together goals and meeting and remembering and all that, like, I have ADHD so hard it hurts, right? And that's why Jill is such a great co-leader with me, because she's the one that sends the email that's like, hey, Hope, I think we were supposed to meet this week, bless her heart, but in the good way, not the like bless her heart kind of way.
Yeah.
Bless her heart, bless my heart. I'm trying. So part of that process.
Taglines this episode. Lots of good taglines this episode.
Yeah. Bless my heart. I'm trying. So we're going to have a process for making sure that you're actually meeting and reminding you. I mean, I just live by recurring meeting invites, right? So if I get hooked up with a mentee, it's like, okay, if we meet it every Wednesday at 2, and
right.
And you better have a good reason for canceling on me, because I will 100% forget to reschedule with you. So there's going to be a sort of automated process of checking in and being like, so did you guys meet this month? How's it going? That sort of thing.
So if we were to switch our focus, to switch. You hear that? That's exactly what I want to change.
Interesting.
If we was to switch, that is not correct English.
No, it's not.
The word you're looking for is word. I'm going to be Chrissy's mentor, and I'm going to get an air horn. Every time you say we was to switch, I'm going to be like,
can you imagine my next teaching? You'll have a trauma response by the end of it.
Yeah,
and imagine my next teaching session.
You're going to be like, Chrissy is such a polished speaker, but then every now and then she just kind of goes. Podcasts famously visual medium. You're just gonna have to imagine that in your head.
Yep.
Unless you're
the switch that I wanted to talk about was, we just talked about helping someone to explore the courage to go be a mentee. Let's switch to being a mentor. If I was to put a mentor hat on, what should I be thinking in my head to qualify me to sign up. I mean, what do I have to say that somebody else would want to hear? Especially with some of my insecurities that I walk around with all day long. I'm learning to lean and to focus and prioritize my strengths and show up to my meetings as I am this awesome person. But if I'm feeling that way, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other ladies in the industry feeling that way, how would we navigate to the point of mentor? And Lex, feel free to explore your mind on this podcast too a little bit with that thought. I know one of the questions you asked me right before we started was like, why would I want to be a mentor? And like, I know why, because you're amazing. I would want to listen to you.
Okay, it's not why would I want to be a mentor. I was just wondering if I was
why
qualified.
should I be a mentor?
Yes,
why would I be a mentor? Like, I think we all know the would of, because we all would have loved to have had a mentor. And so if we got to help the little baby versions of ourselves, right? Why should I think is the question. Like, what do I have to give? And I think it comes back to what I said to my coworker. If you feel like the you of 2 years ago could ask you some questions and you could answer them, then you're ready. The you of 5 years ago, the you of 10 years ago. I know some of us were still in diapers back then, but we've all been there. We've all had to learn. We've all had to sort of struggle on the job and figure it all out. And if you're happy with where you are in your career, then, think back and what were the choices that brought you there? I also feel like you have to remember that the mentor relationship is not about like expounding from on high, right? Like, it's sort of a mentee driven process, right? They're coming in with a goal. They're trying to figure stuff out. I actually grew up Quaker, and Quakers have a tradition of, now I'm blanking on what they're called. But basically, you can get a group of people that will meet with you, and they don't tell you anything. They just ask you questions.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And so I think the best mentors are the ones who ask questions. And, obviously a lot of those questions end up being leading questions, right? Like, do you think it was okay for your coworker to speak to you like that? That's a question. But, there's the joke about like therapists just saying, how did that make you feel? But, I think a big part of being a mentor is being able to listen, to ask good questions. And obviously, if you are hosting a podcast, you have decided that you are good at listening to people and asking them questions. So just saying.
I decided I'm good at yapping.
You're good at yapping. Oh, okay.
I'm a yapper.
I think to expand on Lex's question to herself is that I think that you do a really great job of creating space for someone to come to you and just sit in a safe place to talk. Like, yeah. And sometimes that's all somebody might need, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
Somebody to just, I mean, that's kind of true, because I felt like, it wasn't until those 2 years ago where I had the dinner with Hope and then a bunch of women, where I really met a bunch of women in the AV industry more personally outside of just the professional realm. And then just to be able to be a part of that and have somebody to talk to. And it wasn't even specifically about anything. It just was so encouraging just to have that. And now I also have people that I know I can go to ask those questions. So even though, we're not at that dinner anymore, or maybe you guys aren't mentors anymore, or aren't whatever, moving past it, you're growing your network and you're knowing who you can help a younger version of you and say, oh, hey, Hope actually really helped me when I was in your position at this time in the industry. And then you start referring people and just helping that many more people. So, but when I was wondering if I should become a mentor, I think for me, it was interesting because I was thinking of it in the point of view of like, I don't have the answers, but those were to the questions that I want to be mentored in, but I do have answers elsewhere. And I was so focused on just what I was trying to find out that I forgot that I have, some areas that I could offer, advice or whatever and whatnot on. I was just so focused on the negative, which is a thing for me, but that was probably where I was at. And what I was trying to say earlier too was the whole, I am such a person who falls trapped to, I'm not qualified for 100% of this job, and therefore I don't think I should apply because somebody out there is 100% qualified and they deserve it. That's where my head always goes, which is great. But then also, you know, there's lots of different facets to it, but that's 100% where I was, Hope. I was thinking the same thing.
So, Hope, with your experience with your Girl Scouts and the STEM, I feel like there's an underlining awesomeness with what you're involved with. I feel like when we AV legend you, it's going to be that, you know, you were always approachable and you always had an answer. I feel like there's always a place to go with you. I never feel like when I call you, I'm going to get told that I shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z, or I never feel like I'm coming to a brick wall. Like, I feel like you're very approachable and I'm able to come to you with whatever I have in my head. And then you're just like, well, let's just look at these pieces. So do you feel like the mentorship and the Girl Scouts and the STEM all kind of, I think exemplifies a word for that, but highlight that of your personality and of your skill set? Or how do you feel like all three of those kind of connect?
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, I think they all sort of come from a place of curiosity and wanting to learn and teach at the same time, right? And then also just a sense of wanting to make things fun. So, you know, I do a lot of AV industry stuff, and a lot of it is because of the sort of just social component of like so many people in the industry are now my friends. And so it's really just gratifying to help a friend. I think some of it comes from having been the only woman in the room for so long when I was really early in my career, and wanting to spare other people from the mistakes I made and the things I learned the hard way. And then, yeah, I mean, I love my Girl Scout troop because they are like the little version of myself that I wish I could have been. You know what I mean? Like, they're just a generation removed from us. And it's just such a joy to see them be themselves, to see them love on each other and be supportive of each other in a way that I didn't have when I was younger. You know, just like kid of the 80s, you know, we were more Cobra Kai than they are now. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's sort of a meandering response, but yeah, I think, yeah, some of it is just I really like people. I'm a social person. I'm an extrovert, so it's easier to do that. And then, yeah, I like sort of untangling things. So if somebody comes to me and says, I have this, and I'm trying to figure it out, like, I enjoy that as a puzzle, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I have to be honest, you and I had a STEM conversation like 2 years ago, and you were like, yeah, I'd love to, you know, you to be involved in here and this and that. And it just like freaked me out. And so I never called you back because I was terrified. And now I would feel like I'd have more to offer. But could you help the audience understand STEM, and if they wanted to get involved, like how that's different for the community that STEM reaches out to and is included in? Obviously, when I think of STEM, I think of some very proactive outreach to the younger generation of complicated jobs, or of even just maybe quote unquote regular jobs, but a way to lead them and mentor them into their careers. And I could be totally off. So help me and the audience understand STEM and what that community looks like.
Yeah. So we're part of STEM. I mean, we're all of the letters in there, right? So it's science, technology, engineering, and math. And we use all of those in our careers and in our jobs, right? So the idea of sort of doing STEM stuff younger is that you sort of you're teaching that curiosity, you're teaching sort of that way of thinking. And especially with girls, you know, they're really underrepresented in the STEM careers, especially compared to other careers. So if you look at sort of like doctors and lawyers, and I mean, being a medical doctor, that's also a STEM field, but sort of the more engineering, technical, computer side of things is not as representative as there's just as many women who go to medical school and law school as men these days. But if you look at sort of the hard sciences, it's still, we're way underrepresented. And there's sort of like an interesting thing about the 80s and home computers. And so like women were actually very well represented in the sort of computer science fields for a long time. So if you look at like Hidden Figures, right, there's this whole core of women who were doing all the calculations and the math and who were the first computer programmers. And when computers first came on the scene and they were as big as buildings, it was seen as manly to work on the computers themselves. So the hardware part was mostly men, and the software part was mostly women. Yeah. So like Grace Hopper was one of the very first, well-known computer programmers. She came up with the term computer bug, and it was because a literal bug was in their mainframe. They were like, the calculation's not right. Why is it? And they like had to crawl in and look at it, and they were like, there was a moth in there. So that's where the word computer bug comes from. And then, so we were right there with the guys, and then computers got cheaper and you could have them at home. And I'm the Oregon Trail generation, right? And the Carmen San Diego generation. So
yes, I haven't heard that word in a long time.
We had a computer at home, and I played with it and I learned how to do stuff on it, but we were sort of the exception of our generation. Because a lot of women of that generation, their brother had a computer, but they didn't, or there was a family computer, but their brother monopolized it. And then all those people got to college, and the boys were way ahead of the girls when it came to computer knowledge. And so a lot of women were like, this is not for me, because they felt like they were behind. They got some attitude from their professors, like, how do you not know this? Everybody else does. And then that was sort of where, so you see, if you look at the sort of chart of women in computer science, it gets to about that area, and then it just kind of takes a digger. And that's not for sure that that's what happened. I'm sure there's a lot of other complicated issues around that. But that's what most people think is probably the best explanation of how that happened. So a big part of supporting women in computer science is to just make them feel welcome. So that's also where the mentorship program helps out. And then another part of it is just in terms of like how we play, right? So like I have a daughter. I know what kind of toys people have given her, right? And you kind of have to be that mom, right? Mm-hmm. So I brought her to her first doctor's appointment for where she had to get a bunch of shots. And they were like, oh, you're so brave. Do you want a princess sticker? And she can't even talk at that point, but they're offering her the princess sticker. And I'm like, no, she likes dinosaurs. And I'm like, I don't know if she likes dinosaurs. She probably likes princesses. And there's nothing wrong with princesses either, but you kind of have to insist, right? So like, you have to be the aunt that gives everyone blocks and stuff like that. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that I think it's really important to get involved with the younger generation and give them STEM toys and like be a person that shows them how to do stuff and gets them excited about it, right? So like, if all my Girl Scouts decide to go to law school, I'll be thrilled because it means that they're all doing well in their careers. But, I'd love for one of them to come to me, 20 years from now and be like, I'm an engineer, right? Like I would just cry. And, even if they come to me and they're like, I'm a writer, but, like if anything in the house breaks, like I'm the one that knows how to fix it. Like I'll be super psyched for that too. So.
And you know what? This is so funny that you mentioned that because Chrissy and I were talking right before this, and I was saying how one of my regrets is in college, I had such a specific idea of what working in tech looked like. And I was like, okay, I don't fit that. And I had no other knowledge of any other option out there that I'm like, oh, I wish I had known about these things. But my family comes from a background of like teachers and doctors. So that's primarily what I knew. So the fact that I was even looking at marketing was out there, but then everyone understood it, and I understood what that would look like too. So I didn't try any of the more techie stuff. And if I had known, I'm like, I wonder where I would be, or like what major I would have picked. It would have been a really interesting way to challenge myself if I had known. But
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, it all comes down to one person coming to you and being like, there's programming and all these rooms are supporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. So, and if you like marketing, stick with marketing. Like I feel like marketing gets a bad rep. This is my hill that I will die on. I say this all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
People diminish marketing because it's thought of as like less techy, right? But you can't market a product if you don't know how it works. I mean, you can, but you can't market a product well if you don't know how it works, right? So you have to have a knowledge of all the things. So I think
there's also a lot of data mining involved in marketing.
Yeah.
The department that I am hand in hand with at my job, they are wizards when it comes to marketing, and they've helped me recraft my perspective of the marketing group, and I have to say I come from a stereotypical background too of being or I should say stereotypical perspective. When I was a woman in the engineering world with the screwdriver and the soldering iron and all that stuff, I would look at the marketing gals as like, oh, like I'm so glad I'm not them, because I had the reverse of what Lex had, where I grew up in a very technical family, in a stage performing family, and I would look at the other people, like the admin staff, as kind of like this other world that I can't touch because I don't know how women are in those roles. So the unfortunate rap that I learned about marketing was what you just said. And it's been maybe the last 8 years where I've really had the opportunity to change that perspective. And now I have mad respect for marketing people because now I understand what they do and to the length of what they do. And that's a very good point that you brought up. So sorry, Lex. I had a bias against marketing people back in the day.
There's
you're good.
There's so much technology that goes into it, like of managing a database and doing a mail merge and like putting together, brochures and everything. Like that's all very technical as well. We just don't say it's technical because it looks pretty,
Yeah. I think the thing is now though is that I'm seeing this whole world of tech that I'm so interested in, and it's really hard once you've started on one path of, so I know all my next steps to be a really great marketer and just to make my career in marketing. But now I'm looking at the technical side of things, but then I already feel so behind, and I'm like, okay, but I have all this knowledge and stuff that I can show for in marketing, and people see me and know me as a professional there. But like, what's it look like to kind of start over or to start gaining the knowledge that I need to gain? Like right now I'm working with Chrissy on trying to get my CTS eventually, hopefully by next year. It's all very overwhelming for me, even though this is how I got started in the AV industry, was I was a classroom technician, but I was just going in there and the things that we did just made sense to me, but I never learned the vocabulary. I never really went in depth, and I didn't fully understood what AV was until my first professional career at USC, thanks to a champion I had with Joe Way. But I think for me, it's just I missed out. I'm like, oh, I wish a younger version of me knew. I wish I had a mentor who was like, hey, they're like, hey, like tech doesn't look just like Google and Microsoft and Tesla. Like it can look different. And I love the AV niche. It feels like the perfect amount of like nerdy, familial. I like how it's a little bit smaller, and it's just interesting to navigate like, okay, do I want to just go on the path I'm going, or, what's that look like for me to maybe, is it too late for me to gain some of this knowledge and not fall too far behind, and that's kind of what I was looking for when I was like thinking mentee and things that I was like, I don't know how I would even provide information or help if I was a mentor, because I don't know what that looks like to delve into the technical side of things. But
it sounds like maybe you want to be a mentee because you're at a crossroads, and that's great too. There's no mentorship program if everyone just wants to be a mentor, right? Like, don't sell yourself short in terms of what you have to offer others. But if you feel like you're at a crossroads and you want some help, then it sounds like you're not taking away from anybody else by getting that. It means that you're going to learn stuff and that you're going to help the next generation. Just because I know you're not going to just like hoard that knowledge. And I had a crossroads moment like that too. I think we all have that sliding doors moment. But, like I said, I had a degree in computer science. I didn't go into software development. I went into AV, and I'm doing software development within AV. But, the greater world of software development does tend to pay a lot better. And I mentioned that to somebody who's he's more of a traditional software developer, but he was working at sort of an AV startup. And I said, I'm kind of bummed I missed that boat. And he was like, you would have been a good programmer at a software company, but he's like, now you get to be one of the best programmers because it's a smaller industry and you have that computer science background. So, maybe you don't, go into DSP programming or standard engineering, but, if you find yourself sorry, my dog just came upstairs. If you find yourself in a role where you're doing creative and technical stuff, like that is a very rare skill. People say that to me all the time, like, oh, you need to find a role where you can sort of marry the creative with the technical, with the ability to speak to people, because people tend to be focused in one of those areas. And if you can sort of talk to people and then also understand the technology, like, whew, that is a rare gift and a rare skill. And so don't sell yourself short while you sell seashells at the seashore. Off the top of my head, I'm like, you could be a project manager, you could be a product manager, you could
so that's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I'm thinking I ultimately product manager would be really cool. Technically, I am one where I am, but that's not what it's officially called. It looks a little bit different in education. But I was thinking maybe I can transfer into product marketing manager. And then a PM. I don't know, but it'd be interesting.
You could be a tech manager. I mean, there's so many options out there. I mean, I don't know all of them. Those are just the ones I came up with off the top of my head. So
you don't know them all? Come on.
Shout out to the comment section. Like, let Lex know what she could be when she grows up. No. You could be anything.
Well, I want everyone to be my mentor. All of you comment below.
Can I talk to everybody at some point? Yeah. I hate to cut us short, but we are running out of time, and I want to just go ahead and give us an opportunity to say any of our last thoughts of our topics today, and then at the very end, I'll pitch it over to Lex because she does a much better outro than I do. So
pressure's on.
So any last thoughts that you might have had? Hope we had a great, fantastic conversation. I know, obviously, a main point for this conversation is, look into mentorship and mentee. But any other thoughts you had as we wrap up?
Well, just, go to the WAVIT website. There's a big link right up there at the top. I do believe someone named Lex helped to make all of that work because they're good at technology. Please sign up to be a mentor or a mentee or both. You could be both if you have the time.
And even if you're thinking about it, go look at the form, because the form will show you a lot more options than you think there is.
Yeah. And you can be, if you only want to meet bi-weekly or once a month, like that's totally fine too. So, and just keep on being awesome.
Keep on keeping on. All right, Lex, you take it away on our wonderful
the outro.
Wrap it up outro that I don't do well, which one day I might do better.
Well, now I feel so much
all right, let me mentor you right now, Chrissy. So don't sell yourself.
On the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot. Don't sell yourself short and undermine your own authority in public.
In public. Ooh.
Like or even just in general, because every time you sell yourself short, you're telling yourself something that you're going to keep believing that you're not.
I think I agree with you.
I'm going to throw this over to Lex because she is so great at it. And then you haven't said anything bad about yourself, and you haven't damned Lex with faint praise, and you have let her shine.
Boom.
I've
taken it to heart.
Lessons here. Okay. Let's do this. Outro. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our third episode with the very great Hope Roth. We have all of our socials are going to be, if you're watching, you can see it right under our names. If you're not watching, it's always in the show notes. We have all the links to our guests, so you can go meet Hope. I'm sure she would love to chat with you. And if you want to become a mentor or mentee, the links will also be below in the show notes. I really encourage that. Is there a timeline for that, Hope, or is it just kind of ongoing?
It is rolling admission.
Okay, perfect. So you have no excuses. Think about it. Maybe it's not as much of a commitment as you think it would be. So maybe you'll have room and time for it. So thank you so much again for coming to listen. Please feel free to submit any advice you might want us to ask our guests, or even maybe our previous guests. I'm more than happy to connect with you guys, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye.